Hey, you know what I've noticed? People get excited about outsourcing when they think it's going to free up all their time.
You know what? It actually can. But I think the mistake that people often make is that they think that you can just hand over everything and then that's it.
Yeah, and now you have a team that's there to support your business, but it's kind of not just there to replace your involvement.
And that's the part that people always forget. So that's what we're talking about today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to
Hi.
BizNest. Oh, my name is Francis.
And my name is Penny. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Whether you're watching us or just listening to us, thank you so much. How's the weather
Yeah.
there, Francis, in London? I heard like there's a heat wave of some sort.
Yes.
Yes, but
I
I think
my
for
my
you, that's
Filipino
normal, right?
roots. No, my Filipino roots have abandoned me. I
It
feel
has.
I have shamed my ancestors because it was 35 degrees. It was 35 degrees and I was suffering. Like I didn't realize it's different. Like yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
a person built to withstand the weather, but you're
Yeah.
also in a country that's not built to withstand the weather.
Ah, I
Um
see.
yeah, because I used to make fun of the people. I mean before if it wasn't a heat wave, you still have people suffering at 23 degrees, for example, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh my God, we live where it's normally 31, 35 degrees." And then I would tell them about like we'd go out leather jackets, hoodies on a summer day.
Mm-hmm.
But then you forget when you come from home, you're probably in an air conditioned room. You get into an
Yeah.
air conditioned car or walk to an air conditioned building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Air conditioning rarely exists
Oh, okay.
in the UK.
Well,
Like rarely,
oh, because the weather is almost always
almost always cold.
cold. Yeah.
This is a country of heaters, and if you tend to dress up hotter than the weather allows,
Mm-hmm.
you will be suffering. Like even the tubes, the tubes. Like nobody takes the people rarely take the tube, or if they do, they take off everything. Like this is you know how in the Philippines we dress for style.
Yeah.
Here, it's really primarily for comfort. You layer up because of necessity, and you layer down because of necessity. Like, if you wore trousers, you might just be walking down the street and end up taking off your trousers and leaving it somewhere because it's that hot.
Okay. Thank you so much for the education on the UK
I know,
and then
right?
London.
But why are we here today, Penny? Why
Yeah.
are we here today? We're here to talk about.
So the topic for today is really about once you start outsourcing, there's this notion of people think that once you start outsourcing, it's gonna free up a lot of your time. It's just going to be so easy to start
Which it
delegating
should.
things. Yeah, which it should. But then there's still this part, and this is to be completely transparent. Of course, as outsourcing providers, we try as much as possible to make the onboarding or the experience easier for clients, right? But there is this notion of it's set it and forget it. That you just have to hand over everything, all
Oh,
the documentation, and then, you can like run with it. There you go. You can run with
yeah.
it. But
Or
that's
hit the
actually
ground
rarely the
running.
yeah, yeah. But that's actually rarely the case.
It's rarely the case unless you have an exact business model that the customer wants. Like this is how we do it, blah blah. Blah. And they're like, okay, we put our life in your hands. And maybe there are some businesses
Yeah.
that are like that.
But
Legal
before
services, maybe.
legal services, mm, yeah, let's talk about some of the outsourcing models. I think for this specific topic that we're talking about today, the involvement does vary depending on the outsourcing model, right?
Yes.
So you will have employer of record wherein your provider or your outsourcing partner handles all of the legal, all of the labor stuff in the country that you're partnering with. And but then you're going to be the one managing the team, looking at their performance, doing the reports and everything. And then you also have managed services, which Virtua also offers, in where we still handle all of the legal HR, but then we also manage the team. We give them the coaching, we do the reports, and then report back to you. And then at the other side of things is, I guess, build, operate, transfer,
Yep.
right? So for that one, you're basically creating your branch in the Philippines, but someone is going to be starting it for you, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
done
like
for you, but then done with you as well.
you're not buying seeds to grow it yourself. You're buying the
Mm,
plant, which meant
yeah.
somebody did the thing
Hmm.
and watered it, turned it into, you know, turned it into a plant that could survive and then hand it over.
And so with all of these models, you do think about there is like a different like different levels of being involved. But some of the expectations that we've seen from clients is that their first expectation is, okay, this is what's happening. There are actually two clients that we have. One is, I want to do everything with you guys, right? Like, here's the documentation, we'll do the training, we'll do the client will do that. And then there's the other one, which is barely
The
any
clueless.
document. Yeah. Barely any documentation. Yeah. Yes. A little bit about the clueless. Also does not
But
have
to be
any
fair,
systems or structures set up.
but
Yeah.
to be fair, that's a lot of people who want to try or who want to consider outsourcing
Hmm.
because they've heard of it
Yeah.
and they only have like vague notions of what it could do for you, and pretty much what people would find out if they go to our website, like find
Hmm.
out how you can free up x amount of your time, or work with people who are just as skilled or if not more skilled, or stop doing everything yourself sort of deal. They just, some of them, they don't know what to expect, and therefore maybe
Hmm.
uh you know although it's fairly surprising sometimes to come in and say, yeah, we don't really know, we've never done this before. And that I feel like that's where you enter a more dangerous ground, because that's when you have to come in and say, let's make sure that expectations are very, 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 very set.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, I find that that's it's not shaky ground, but that's where you need to be able to sit a person or a potential client more,
Hmm.
and not have them run around with what notions, because it's always like that, right? When something's overhyped and then you come in and say, oh, that's not what I expected, it can end up
Yeah.
more of a disappointment, even though things are functioning exactly how they're supposed to.
Yes.
So yeah, I suppose the involvement matters. Why? A, it's your business. It's the kind of thing that you also need to be involved in, because you need to understand how things get from point A to point B,
Hmm.
or from step one to step two. Although in that case, we're not, as vendors, contractors, embedded partners, we're not looking for. I suppose that the term is, you're looking for involvement from, depending on the level of the work. It could be oversight, but definitely nothing should approach micromanagement, right? Because it's the reason why you're looking for a machine that already
Yeah.
works by itself. But then again, same machine won't drive itself. Although
True.
that analogy might not work in the future, because I just saw like driverless cars. uh,
I
has it
think
has it hit has it hit the Philippines?
no, no,
The
not
cars
yet.
with the
Not yet.
cars with the big thing at the top.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, Tesla isn't even like it's not as huge here compared hybrid cars, yes. But anyway, going back,
Yeah.
just going back. So regarding outsourcing, so yes, it does. You need to have a little bit more involvement with that. And what we mean by that is you need to be able to set what goals you need the team to accomplish. Maybe even have a sort of an idea of where you want it to go or want it to happen, because there are going to be entrepreneurs or solo founders or startup founders where they already know the process that they want to do, and there are some that who do not know the entire process yet. And so you partner with someone who does have expertise in that particular area. For example, customer support, right? You partner with the outsourcing provider that has done that, because they already know how to get the whatever KPIs need to be tracked. But then regarding those KPIs, you do
Hmm.
need to set what your expectations are regarding the KPIs. Like, what goal do you want to achieve? And actually even work with the provider or your outsourcing partner into kind of figuring out what those goals are if you're totally like new in that area of your business. Because one of the things that I kind of think about here is that, so for example, for us, like when we do work with other with our service providers, right? The reason why we're working with them is they have that certain expertise already. But then how do you know, or how do I know if their performance is will satisfy me? Then it's now a conversation between me and the provider, and seeing like, okay, I want this done. And if it's not something that cannot be done, this the provider does need to kind of push back a little and say, no, this is the goal that needs to happen, or this is the way it needs to happen, because this is, we know how we know it works. And that has happened with us. We do have some service providers in, the internal side of the of the business. And I think that's the involvement that needs to happen, is setting the goals, and also have that conversation with them regarding those goals, and what you think as an entrepreneur, director, whatever your position is. Have that conversation with them regarding those goals, and how you think things should happen, and be open to any suggestions. I think that's the involvement that needs to happen.
No, yeah, absolutely. I no notes.
No,
Please proceed.
noted.
Yeah.
Speaking on the other side of things, as being a vendor, it's so hard when the client doesn't really communicate with you what goals need to be met. It actually gives
Hmm.
me a lot of anxiety when that happens, because I don't know if we're performing well based on their
Yeah.
expectations or not. And so I as a having done this for quite a while, that constant collaboration not only eases the client side of things, where
Hmm.
they have full visibility of what's happening, but also this provider side of things, because now we know, okay, should we be doing better, or are we doing okay, or is there anything else that we need to be doing? So there needs to be some transparency. So it's not just the first foray into outsourcing, or first foray into like starting the partnership, but also a continuous thing. What about you, Francis? Do you remember any time in our when we work with
In a
clients
storied
where,
career.
yeah, no, like because me, like I get, yeah, like I want to know if the team is performing well. So me, I'm really very, like, I'm more data driven, I guess.
Hmm. I
I think.
think, I
What?
think,
Yeah.
I think for me that happened more towards the earliest parts of my career in freelancing. The kind of people who think it's set it and forget. I think that fell more along the lines of the real estate guys,
Mm-hmm.
because they're busy and they're all that. And sometimes, as long as the tasks are, and maybe because the tasks are really routine,
Mm-hmm.
that you really can, in a way, set and forget, which is
Mm-hmm.
both maybe because the understanding is you know what you're doing, and that frees up my time. But that is, probably also a problem if you fall into that routine of never checking in, because you don't know where
Mm-hmm.
you can possibly improve on,
True.
because, and obviously, when things improve, you need to, take a look at it and say, oh, but then again, a lot of people say, oh, this is what I need you to do, and that's it. And for me, it's still a slippery slope, because, either, some people can survive without minimal supervision, but there's also a lot of people who don't. Or, people are rarely driven to take on more work if you're not asked to do more work, right? So,
Mm.
and you can only do that if you're regularly reviewing things. You get faster by setting appointments, or you
Mm-hmm.
find out problems that arise, like why aren't appointments being set, why aren't calendars being managed properly. And you'll never know if you're doing a great job if you're just the one looking at it yourself. There's rarely self-assessments that people are willing to look at themselves and say, how else can I improve? It's just not the thing. So what was your case?
So I remembered when I was freelancing, usually there's
Yeah.
really no onboarding that happens, right? Especially if
Surprise,
it's like,
onboard
yeah, yeah,
yourself.
yeah. I remember having like a 1 hour product demo, and I was supposed to know the ins and outs of the software. I remember doing cold calling as well and just being handed the script and then be told, go ahead and make calls. So
Yeah.
I have had that experience, and it often happens a lot with small businesses or startups or solo founders where they're so busy already or so I guess buried in all of the tasks, so they don't really have that much time anymore to really onboard you. More often than not, like for me and Francis, when we do talk to startups, we understand that. And so we often tell them, okay, if you don't have any documentation yet, or if you don't have any onboarding flow yet, we can work with you on this. So here are the things that we need. So, we do try to do that, but then I guess yeah, to my, to what I was saying, it often happens to the startup community or the startup businesses because they're already all over the place by the time that they come to us and ask for help. The ones that I think we've like onboarded like I guess easier.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever onboarded easy? No.
Uh,
No, what I meant by that was that even though the bigger corporations or the bigger
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I
accounts.
didn't mean for my reaction to come out that way.
No, no, because I remember that sorry, my point earlier was that the startup or the solo founders are buried already, so they don't have much time to do the documentation or do the onboarding modules or everything or anything like that. So you would
Yes.
think that the bigger corporations or the bigger accounts that we have is an easier like onboarding experience, like when we started the partnership, right? But I remember having, because they were a bigger corporation, there were different people handling permissionings, handling apps, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't easy because now sometimes some people would start their day one and they still don't have access to to one of the softwares that they need to have access during the training because it's from a different department than the one that we're actually actively talking to. Although most of them do have documentation, I think that's the thing with the bigger accounts that we have. All of them have help centers or knowledge base, internal knowledge base, which
Yeah.
helps them out.
But yeah. So for me, the kind of involvement that I feel that you should feel it out. Like, what's your intention? Or maybe,
Mm,
in a way, as long as you set those clear rest expectations, there could be a version of set and forget it that
yeah.
that could be that could function, right?
Mm-hmm,
Or that
mm-hmm.
that could work. I mean, I'm really just and, trying to understand it, because maybe the kind of relationship is, don't call me unless the building's on fire. And
Oh yeah,
if when you
like
do call me,
thresholds.
yeah,
Yeah,
and when you do call me, the building better not have burned down. So,
yeah, I get you.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, as long as that's the case, then nobody can tell you that when like when you do get into a call or into a meeting and say, why didn't you tell me this earlier? Because you can go like, you said,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
thresholds.
We
Yeah. I was thinking like in what scenarios could it be set it forget it? I guess to your story earlier regarding if it's a routine task that could happen, right? Like
Yes.
you train them first, so there's still involvement needed. You train them first, maybe even do mock calls with them, do like scenarios if it's customer support, mock tickets if it's
until
customer
yeah
support.
until they can handle it to your
Satisfaction.
satisfaction.
Yeah, satisfaction. And then maybe you can actually not entirely forget it, but
There won't be a forget. So unless products don't evolve, well, even if it doesn't, that that scenarios just, you know they customers will find a way to break your product or your service
yeah,
in
software
surprising.
users.
Some users are just built
Absolutely.
that way. But I think what you do is, and the experiences as support people, you just like, sorry, you did what? Or sorry, you want what? Wait, sorry, you tried to do what? And I wonder if, like, if we're thinking set and forget, there still needs to be a time to sit down and say, look, since we last talked, here are some scenarios that I think weren't covered,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you list them down. If it's not covered by the playbook, if it's not covered by the support articles, then make sure to list it down and say, um, and probably by the nature of that conversation, you'd go, this is how we've been dealing with it, but what do you think what we should do? Or, especially
True.
if it's causing customers to churn, then that would
Mm-hmm.
involve affected revenue, which I assume the client would want to know about.
Yes. So-
You
yes.
agree?
You know what? I suddenly felt like, when a teacher caught a student not listening. But I am listening.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Francis. I am listening. But what I was going to say was that what I was going to ask you was that so that part right there, what you said was regarding feedback loops, right? Having that conversation about, okay, this is a scenario we haven't really experienced before, so you have to have that system in place in either logging those scenarios and having that conversation with the client. But what's your opinion about the frequency of feedback loops? Are you partial with like real time feedback, or are you more partial to the weekly? And mind you, we have clients that have different preferences. But what about you, Francis? Like, what's your take, I guess, on
I
that?
don't know how I feel about. So see, frequency has to be something that, I mean, you'd know. So even in cases like when we onboard a new customer, I would insist on a frequency that allows me to either through
A
to let the
piece?
customer yeah, to let the client feel more comfortable, knowing that, especially if it's a pilot program, for example, then i
Mm,
would i would definitely insist on being high touch with, with the program in the beginning,
true.
to ensure that, that, especially if you're working with a tighter deadline. But then again, as with some of our other accounts, I say let's keep a regular cadence. Let's keep a regular cadence for calls, even if it's just, we don't have sometimes we don't even have to talk metrics. We just have to talk, how do you feel about
Mm-hmm.
how things are coming, and it's a separate conversation, sitting down and looking at numbers, because
Mm-hmm.
you can't, you can't dismiss gut feelings. Like sometimes they just go, it looks like they're doing their job well, but I just don't know, is
Mm-hmm.
also very dangerous. So you have to be the one saying, oh look, see, doing very well, oh
Oh, oh,
look,
look.
oh look, right.
Oh, look. Right? Sorry.
But then again, you'd also get the sense that, let's say you went for a weekly cadence,
Mm,
and then you notice, as time goes, you there's less and less things to talk about, or rather, I don't
mm-hmm.
have topics to discuss today. If you check, like, how are we doing the calls
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, and they go, I don't have topics tomorrow, and then you can go, do you want to set the pace to twice a week, and then let's just, of course, reserve ad hoc if things
Yeah, like
pop up
urgent things, revenue
urgent.
set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it really does, like, you will go from weekly to fortnightly, to
Mm-hmm.
once a week, and then maybe once a quarter. Of course, that's very different for customers who have outsourcing needs that really require high touch, right?
True.
That not only do you have a weekly, you have a fortnightly, you have a monthly, and then you have a
Yeah.
quarterly.
I think
Yeah.
so in my head there's also different levels in having these conversations. You can have the
Yep.
metrics kind of conversation. These are the these are the metrics that we have now. These are the ones that are doing well, not doing well. They're not doing well because XYZ, right? And
Yep.
there's this other kind of conversation which is more strategic in a way, like you're not talking about like the nitty gritty stuff or the tactical stuff, but you're talking about,
Yeah.
okay, where is the team heading? Are we going to be expanding this, or are we going to have to scale down because of whatever reason, right? But those are the different also kinds of conversation. In every conversation this happens, especially in the start, is having an actual conversation with a client, not just the metrics, not just the strategic conversation, but as you mentioned, like whether it's just how are you feeling right now, or
Hmm.
how are you what are your thoughts regarding the performance of the team? Those are the first few ones that I like to have in a conversation first, because it is a
Stuff.
partnership.
Yes,
No,
it
because it
is.
is a
Yes, it is.
partnership, right? So it's not like we're not just here to deal about business. We're also talking about people, because we're in the outsourcing industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we're also talking about people. We're talking about their performance, and vendor side, client side, we're both people, and a partnership is not just okay, let's talk business.
Yeah,
I
yes.
guess it's one of those things that actually Francis is very, very, very good at this.
Who? What? What did I do?
No, you're very good at kind of, it's not buttering up. I think that has like a bad connotation, but you have a great way in warming up people. And I keep thinking about, having conversations with clients, and you're like, okay, where does he pick this up? And then it's suddenly just because of someone's background, or something they said. You're really, really good in getting that rapport going. Yeah. So,
Babes, it's
so this
I
is
think I
not
think most of
like,
them it's
let's praise
desperation.
Francis.
I was gonna say.
No, but yeah,
But
I mean
I'll
that's
take
one
it.
of the things that, yeah. Thank you for being ready and being open to receive compliments, Francis.
Oh,
I know
thank
you
you.
and
Oh
I
my
are
god.
not really good at it, but thank you for receiving the compliment. Okay.
I'm a little bit tongue tied, just so you know.
um
I mean, honestly, I feel like it's just, I don't think it's just a talent, but when something comes naturally, when I have to fight for a lot of things, I'll take that. When you
quite a lot of things.
seriously, there, I mean, considering we know where my brain leans a lot of times, you get distracted a lot
Mm.
of times. It's one of the things that I find it's not even a teachable skill. I think it's just,
Oh, I
um,
was really thinking about that, because do you remember I had this like webinar about communication skills for, for agents or VAs. I was
yeah,
thinking about how to build that relationship, because I do think that you and I have always had like great relationships with our clients that goes
yeah.
above. Please do not mistake what I'm gonna say, but just above, in a legal way, I guess. Na- Please do not take it the wrong way.
We go the
The wrong way.
extra
But
mile.
yeah, just, I guess not just because I hate the word transactional, because it's very like a buzzy buzzword thing. But yeah, I think you and I have always had great relationships with our clients, where we really talk to them rather than just have to report to them, which is actually, I think, one of the reasons why, yeah, yeah, I guess that's just one of the reasons why we like working with our clients, is because the relationship is like that. So anyway, moving back, or going back, sorry, going
Yes.
back to what we were talking about. So we've talked about, having that onboarding where you do have to set clear goals, or what your expectations are of, with your outsourcing partner or your VA or whoever it is that you're working with remotely. And then we've also talked about the feedback loop, whether it's the weekly thing, or maybe in the start, sorry, in the start you'll have, a more frequent feedback session, and then you also have levels, whether it's the KPI metric discussion, the strategic discussion, or just having a conversation to understand how everyone is doing, the morale of the team, and
Yeah.
things like that.
And
What
and
else
and
should
mind
we?
and mind you and mind you, a lot of, just setting that rapport, not to take away any value from that, but I mean, quite oftentimes, like, conversations, when they go beyond transactional, may still be part of the job. It's,
Mm,
you know once you, okay, let's put down the business. How are you? Because if, when you're talking, for example, to a client who is a business owner,
mm-hmm.
um the entirety of that person is oftentimes the entirety of his business
True.
as well. So, you're not talking to a machine. I mean, not machine, like a business entity. When that business entity also happens to be one person, which
Mm-hmm.
means, unfortunately, which means that what goes on outside of their work life severely
Affects.
affects the work life, right? Like remember divorced and I need to prove that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had those
So
conversations.
let's just say like when if that person spirals, oftentimes the business can spiral as well. So just saying. So yeah, going back.
So going back, so we like in this entire conversation, we were talking about client involvement with their outsourcing provider, whoever they outsource or their VA, or things like that. What are your thoughts about having a specific point person to kind of manage the remote team or the outsourcing provider?
That could work for some scenarios. It
Mm-hmm.
might not in some. Let's just say the bigger the organization, the harder it is to have a single point person.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why they'd want to gatekeep communication with the company, especially if they're dealing with a lot of like sensitive information, and you
Yeah.
can't account for everybody not not being able to say or do the exact things at the right time always.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, it might be the best case scenario if everything funnels through a single POC, right? But then again,
Mm-hmm.
that's the problem. Say, for example, if you work with different departments or different teams, and every time it has to be that one person, that becomes the person's full time job to silo and communicate within
Mm-hmm.
the company, right? So yeah, I mean it's really that for me. I mean, I didn't mean to finish the conversation, but it's really that. I think the clients that we've worked with who insisted on having a single uh, person around for every conversation
Mm-hmm.
has to be dealing with something shady. I mean, no, I has to be dealing with with sensitive information that they have to control it. For better or for worse, that's just how it has to work. Thank you very much.
No notes.
No, no.
No notes. No, no. I absolutely agree with you. I think there are pros and cons to it. And there's also like, is it actually can that actually be done? Because there are small, like for the smaller organizations, for startups, you can't really have just one point person to do that, right? But there are stakeholders, I guess, in every relationship with a vendor, and so as you mentioned, it's probably for the smaller organizations. It's probably not just one person. It may be several, just so everyone is aware about what's happening, unless it's a solo founder. For bigger organizations, what we've seen so far is that there's one major stakeholder or one major POC. Um, but that also depends what the level of that POC is. How much they can actually tell us in that conversation, like how much strategic, like where is the company heading conversation, or is it just more tactical conversation of here's the action plan for the team, rather than moving forward or future thinking, or how to say this, like how the team is affecting the other, I guess, other parts of the business. It really depends on the level
It has
of
to
the
be a
person
very,
that
very
we're talking
experienced.
to.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has to be a very experienced POC. But then again, again, hardly the fact that I don't know. What do you think? Like nothing that a very well documented NDA can't handle. I suppose if you can get around it, definitely try to break down those barriers.
Mm.
If it's easier to say, have different points of contact depending on, and just have like a main POC to report to every time,
Mm.
and do it that way. I mean, oftentimes you maybe they don't know why they're doing it. And they just heard it from a different group, but they don't really need to apply it. I certainly know that a lot of people have put in place some processes that are there just because, or
Mm.
maybe there was an antiquated process that don't, people don't find necessary anymore. I mean, we haven't been one to always try to break down bottlenecks, but I know that there have been times when we're the ones saying, I think you need to put in safeguards in place, because this is, like, remember when laptops were just, literally just browsers and no security or protection whatever, and with that, I know that it's a startup company, that's a cloud based company, but I think when you're dealing with data, you should put in place blah blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, um
So
where
we
does that
wanna
where does that take us? Yes.
Yeah, so we want to know what's your take on this. So, how involved do you think should a business be when they're
Oh, when working
outsourcing?
with outsourcing,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
How
Whether it's
involved do you
working with
think?
your VA or just one person or working with an agency, how involved should you be, or do you prefer to be? We want to know what you think about this. Please comment down below. We'll be sure to read it. We really, really want to know what's your take on it.
Yeah. And of course, we want that to be a topic of conversations as well. But what do you know? That once again, that's it for today's episode of Business. But as you know, conversation doesn't end there.
Let's keep the buzz going. Please follow Virtua on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Send us your thoughts and let's talk business.
And remember, you can find Business on YouTube, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and TikTok. So listen anytime, anywhere.
Until next time, keep hustling, keep innovating, and keep making moves. See you on the next
Keep making
episode.
moves.